Hi, I'm Sean Buvala. I'm a full-time professional storyteller and have been so for 23 years. I'm also the full-time director of Storyteller.net, and today we're going to talk about that problem that everybody has, and that is, what do you do with your hands? Or more formally, we call this issue gestures. Now, I'm about to tell you a story, and I want you to watch what I do. Once upon a time, there was a crow, and the crow was hungry, and the crow flew around and around and around looking for food, and then spotted below a piece of cheese sitting on the shelf of a window. So the crow flew down and picked up the cheese in its beak, and then flew a bit more until it found the highest possible tree, and then went to the very top of the tree where it planned to eat its stolen catch. Well, walking along the ground came a fox, and that fox looked up, and that fox saw that cheese, and the fox said, "I want that." And so he stopped and he looked deeply at the crow and said, "Crow, oh, your feathers are so beautiful. I bet that your voice is as beautiful as your feathers." Well, the crow puffed itself up a bit and looked and shook its head. "Will you sing for me?" And so the crow, with the cheese in its beak, began to sing. And the fox said, No, I need to hear that beautiful voice, that one that goes with those feathers. Won't you sing loud for me?" And with that, the crow puffed himself up, opened its beak to sing loud, and when it did so, the cheese fell to the ground. When that cheese started to fall, that fox jumped up and caught it in its jaws, chewed upon it, and walked away. Aesop suggests that the moral of the story might be flattery will get you everywhere. Now, before you even begin to use your hands for anything, we think there's 3 things that you must know about making gestures. Those 3 things are, you have to intend, activate, and linger those gestures. Intend, activate, and linger. So let's talk about those for just a moment. Let's talk about intending. That means you know what you're going to do with these things before you even get on stage or in front of any people at all. For example, in the story that I just told you, I knew that the bird would pick up the cheese like that. I knew that when I wanted the bird to be high in the tree, I would make my whole body into a gesture and look up like that. Even my voice would be part of the gesture. I knew that when the fox was speaking, the fox would talk like this. Oh, such beautiful feathers you have." I knew that gesture was going to happen. And I knew at the end, when that cheese drops down, not only would the cheese drop down, but the fox would gobble it up. And I intended all those gestures from the very beginning. So the very first thing you have to know is your gestures must be intentional, or intend your gestures. All right, let's talk about activating your gestures. So you've decided your intention, you intend to do this gesture for the crow to pick up the cheese. Now, you have to activate that gesture. Activation means you really have to do it. So if I'm going to do this for picking up cheese, this gesture is not doing what I said I would do. It's not activating it. I make a commitment that I'm going to do that. If I want to show you that the bird is high up in the tree, then if I just do this, that's not activating that gesture. I need to activate. I need to be committed to making that gesture happen. So the second part of intend, activate, and linger is this very important step. Activate. Do the gesture that you intended to do. The final piece of this 3-part puzzle is linger. You want your gestures to wait around. See, here's what's happening. You've been working on this story for a long time. You've taken a lot of hours to make your story perfect. The problem is your audience has never seen the story before. They need to see what you're seeing in your mind. Remember, when you're storytelling, you're painting pictures with words. So linger with your gestures. Allow them to hang out for a while so that your audience can see what you're doing. Once there was a crow, And that crow flew around and around until it saw a piece of cheese on a shelf, and it flew down and it picked up that piece of cheese in its beak. And then it flew some more until You see what I'm doing? I'm letting my audience see what I see. The same thing with gestures. I may say that crow landed high at the top of the tree, and even though I come back and speak to you, my body is still making the gesture there. And at the end, when the fox grabs and bites that piece of cheese and snaps it away, I let that gesture hang there so my audience can see what I see. Let it linger. Don't be in a rush. 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 Let your audience see what you see. So our steps are intend, activate, and linger. Now, I know at this point, because I've done a lot of corporate training in my time, that somebody is sitting here watching this video and saying, but Sean, I don't stand on stage and speak stories. I just sit across the table while I'm having coffee with somebody. I can't use anything that you just said to me. Well, guess what? You can, but you change it when it's just across the table, but you still keep your gestures. Once upon a time, there was a crow, and that crow flew around and around until it saw a piece of cheese on a shelf, and it flew down and it picked up that cheese. And it flew around until it came to a tree, and it stayed right at the top of that tree, settling on the top branch. Well, walking below on the ground was a fox, and that fox looked up, and the fox said, I think I'd like that cheese. And so the fox called out, oh, crow, you are so beautiful. I bet your voice is just as beautiful as you are. Well, the crow heard that and tried to make a song, but the cheese was still in its beak. The fox said, no, that won't do at all. I need you to sing loud for me. And with that, the crow opened its beak to sing a song, and when it opened its beak, the cheese fell to the ground, and that fox snapped it right up. Aesop suggests that the moral of the story is flattery will get you everywhere. Did you catch what happens in that story? It's just you and me across the table. I'm still intending my gestures. I'm still activating those gestures, and finally, I'm letting those gestures linger. Gestures and separating your movements and your gestures, intending them, activating them, and letting them linger, separate an ordinary public speaker from a really good public speaker. I hope that this video has been helpful for you. Come pay us a visit at storyteller.net or stop by my site for corporate training at seantells.net. We'll see you in the next video. If you'd like to pick up our book, it's at storytelling101.com. See you next time.